asking, it's generally not okay to ask questions, you know, to Hawaiian teachers. Why are you so niere? Why are you so nosy? But I started asking questions when I could, and I started getting very interesting answers to things. And I watched my Hawaiian teachers when they were gathering plants. And I realized that they were gathering plants with a part of themselves that was different than when they were talking to me about the plants. And I started thinking about this, I started researching it, and I realized that over time, and I'm speculating now, that there's a part of our nervous systems that we don't use. You know, our brains have a lot of plasticity, and when we are raised in an environment when we have square everything, and we read from left to right like this, and we're sitting in rows, and our hands are like this. You know, this is not the way we evolved for a couple of 100,000 years. And this is okay, but this only uses one half of the old brain there. There's a whole other universe out there that we don't use, but we still have it. And I say this sometimes in my classes, you women, you know when you meet a guy and he's really creepy? Right? You know that feeling? Like you meet this guy and he looks normal, he acts normal, he talks normal, but he's creepy? Well, he is creepy. Unless it's me. But everybody else is creepy. So yeah, that and that's not an accident. That's a part of your nervous system that you were born with. That's your inheritance. Hey, Josh. That's your inheritance. And my Hawaiian teachers, because they were raised old school in this culture, used that part of their nervous system. And for most of us, it's atrophy. So I started exploring that, and I started trying to find scientific resonance with those ideas. Is there really a part of our nervous system that we don't use? We can, if we look at the world in a scientific linear way, and I love science, science is great, but if we look at the world in a scientific linear way, we only see things from one angle. I always say science is a good servant but a poor master. Right? If we only look at things in terms of science and counting and math and data and statistical studies, we're missing. We're running a race on one leg. We're only using half of our brain. And we didn't evolve to use one half of our brain. We evolved to use all of our brain. There's another part of our nervous system that we don't use. If you take cats, this was a study that was done. They take a bunch of cats and they put them in, they raised them in a room with all white walls, white refrigerator, white closets, everything's white. And they put black vertical lines in that room. And they raised the cats in that room. They took the cats out of the room and they put them in a room with horizontal black stripes. And you know what happened? They couldn't even see the black stripes. They would just run into the walls. Because their nervous system had not adapted to that. If you take a child and you raise that child in a Chinese home with Chinese language, that child's brain physiologically changes, the structure, not physiologically, structurally, anatomically changes to accommodate that language, which is different than if that child's raised in a Japanese household or English-speaking or German household. So the good news is we have these parts of us inside us. And we may be thinking, what's this got to do with wild edibles? Well, I think a lot. I think a whole lot. I think one of the reasons we can watch a forest being clear-cut is because we're so used to thinking with half of our brain, we're not feeling it here. If we could really feel what it's like to have people clear-cut or take 90% of the fish out of the ocean in my lifetime, the pelagic fish, if we could feel that in our bodies, we wouldn't stand for it. We wouldn't tolerate it. But because we're so used to bringing our energy up and thinking up here, it's okay, it's justified. We talk it off, we rationalize it. Okay? So what I've spent the last 15 years doing is trying to figure out what's going on with this. What is this part of our nervous system? What is that? And it's fascinating because as the time has gone by, science has shown more and more that my Hawaiian teachers were right and my Chinese teachers were correct too. That, you know, when you say he had a big heart or she had a big heart, or I knew it in my guts, that's not a metaphor, that's actually true. One heart beating, the electromagnetic field from one heart beating reaches out 10 feet. This is not hippie science, this is real. Okay? This is like within 10 feet. So your heart and your heart and your heart and my heart now are aware of each other. The fields are interacting. If I take some heart cells out of somebody's heart, put it on a plate, and I take somebody else's heart cells out of their heart, put it on a plate, within 10 feet, they will synchronize. So there's all different parts of our nervous system that we don't use. And I've been aggregating this information and kind of gathering it together. And I thought a lot about what's happening with this. How is it that my Uncle Bill Kanikoa could go up to a plant and look at it and feel it in his na'au, and then all of a sudden come to a place where, oh, that's for my lungs, and use it, and had great results. You know, how is it that there's 50,000 herbs in the Amazon, 50,000 totally diverse plants, and somehow an Amazonian shaman found this vine that goes with this completely unrelated plant, you put them together and you're in a journey. Right? How did they know? Out of 50,000 different plants. That's a lot of trial and error. I don't think it was that. And if you ask the shamans how they did it, or you ask a Hawaiian kupuna how he did it, they say, the plant told me. We think that's silly, right? How does a plant tell you? Well, dogs and cats all the time they eat grass. You'll see dogs eating grass. Wild animals use that part of intuition all the time, and so did our ancestors. If they didn't, they were dead. Right? So the part of you, women, that knows a guy is creepy is the same part of you that will listen to a plant. It's the same part that knows when your partner is uncomfortable or upset or what a baby needs. Right? Our ancestors had those parts raised in tribes, not in boxes, but direct connection with nature. They didn't label things. If you take a hunter-gatherer from Africa and you put him in an MRI, the part of his brain that's naming things, there's not a lot of names. Hey, Kevin, is it working?
Can't guarantee it.
Okay, well, we'll give it a try. But the part of him that recognizes things and feels with his body is huge. So the Hawaiians my Hawaiian teachers talked about the idea of na'au, its belly. And we have a nervous system. We've got a spinal column, and we've got a spinal cord that runs through the spinal column, down through the brain stem, down through the spine, and you've got spinal nerves. That is primarily our sympathetic nervous system. That's fight, flight, or freeze. That's what that is. My Hawaiian teachers always said, you enter the forest with your na'au. You know, before we do anything important, we pray, we center, ho'omaluhia. We become focused, we meditate, right? What we're doing when we do that is we're shifting our nervous system from a sympathetic state, run primarily through our spinal cord, to a parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest. That's run through the cranial nerves. There's a bone at the base of the skull. The Hawaiians call it iwi opea, means backbone or sphenoid bone. The cranial nerves run out of that bone, not from in the spinal column, but outside of it, and connect with different parts of our body. That's parasympathetic. And my speculation or my guess is that this is the place where we can connect with plants, with the earth, and with each other. Most of us are cut off. Even folks even athletes, I work with a lot of athletes, they don't know what they're feeling. Every emotion you have in your body, everything you feel, every emotion you feel is a combination of a thought plus a somatic response, a response in your body. Gotta get that? You follow what I'm saying? Every emotion you feel is a thought plus a physiological reaction. And these are happening constantly right now, all the time. These reactions, but we're not attuned to them. People that listen to plants, people that are intuitive, naturally intuitive, they're always aware of what's happening in their body. That's how you track, that's how you connect to the earth. You know, this down here, this is like for what, a couple of hundred years, or at least since the Renaissance, we figured the purpose of this is just to carry this around, right? I mean, people come into my office all the time, you know, they're kind of, their head is dragging their body behind them, and they're going, can you fix this? You know, this in here, right? Because, you know, the traditional people, tribal people, people that are connected to the earth know what you put in here and what comes out there is really important. Really important in terms of health, right? People know that, you know, that what we feel is going to help us heal. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to feel. You don't need a scientific study to know that fresh air, clean water, love, touch, and good food is going to help you heal faster, right? You don't need, you know, kids need love, right? So we're so disconnected that we expect studies for everything. And studies are fine. I love science, like I said, but this is not, we're not going to save the planet. We're not going to get out of this handbasket by thinking our way out of it. We're only going to get out of it by reclaiming our bodies. But I know I'm feeling that because there's a sense of tension up in here. My shoulders want to come up. I notice my right foot is kind of warm and slightly sweaty from nervousness probably. So take a minute and just notice what's happening in your body. Okay, just that process of noticing what you're feeling in your body I call dropping in or rooting. And it's like rooting is dropping down into the earth, reconnecting. I do work with men a lot, and I'm involved with a group called Mankind Project. We do high adrenaline facilitation for men. And one of the things that we'll do with a man, when a man is in deep process, is we use our body as an antenna. Would you laugh at me? I'm sensitive.
Wait, what is it? High adrenaline?
High adrenaline, I don't know, I'm just making it up.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, this is like, we use our body as an antenna, okay? And what you're doing is you're feeling what another man's going through and perhaps what he might need. You're kind of bypassing the left brain, the rules, the cookbook, the recipes, right? And you're using your trust in your body. And it's amazing the work you can do with people when you are willing to not get in your own way. I've been listening to plants now for about 15 years. I hear all kinds of things from them. But the main message that I'm getting is that I just need to get out of my own way. Just trusting in that. Now, I'm not saying you just go out and pick something because your pendulum tells you to and start eating it, okay? It's not what I'm saying. We still have due diligence. We still have to study science and all that stuff. But we can rely on our na'au more and more. The Hawaiians talk about na'au, and the word na'au. Anybody, people have heard that word na'au? It means guts or belly.
Whereas pico means just the belly button.
Pico is just the belly button, yeah. But na'au means is this part of your body here. The Chinese call it the dantian. The Japanese call it the hara. The word na'au means guts, but it also means knowledge. Right? When you know something, from an old Hawaiian perspective, you know with your belly. If you take the word na'au and you add A-O to it, which is a Hawaiian word for spiritual light, you get na'auau. And what that is the Hawaiian word for wisdom. So if you spend enough time in your belly, and you trust your na'au, you trust your guts, and you shed a spiritual light on that, you get wisdom.
So do you think that they chose to make a mind so prevalent and to one to fool. Like you can't fool the heart. And it's
Yeah, it's a lot harder. I think you can fool the heart, but it's a lot harder. Yeah, in the gut. I taught this material for years, and I always said to my students, you think with your head, but you speak and listen with your belly. And I was teaching in Makawao here a few years ago, and there was a student of mine that was a Native American, and she said, "That's not right." I was like, "Really?" She said, "No, that's not right." I was like, "Okay, well, tell me what's right." And she said, "No. The truth is, you think with your head, you speak with your heart, and you listen with your belly." And I think that's much. You know who Tom Brown Jr. is? Anybody know who Tom Brown Jr. is? He's a tracker. He was raised by a Native American he called grandfather, and he taught Tom Brown to track and to survive in the wilderness, old school, coyote style. Well, my friend Matt studied with Tom Brown. Tom Brown's in his early 60s now. My friend Matt studied with Tom Brown for 15 years. And I was out with Matt. I've known him for years, but we've never gone out into the woods together. I went out the other day with him up in Koketni in Kauai. And we were walking around. And I've been doing this sort of alone, isolated, trying to figure out how do I trust my body? How do I develop this part of myself that my Hawaiian teachers have, that I know people all over the world have been doing? It's in me. I know it is. How do I do that? And we went out, and he's been studying with a teacher, with a very specific teacher, Tom Brown and John Young, for 15 years. We went out, and it was like we were mirroring each other. It was weird. I mean, the exact same conclusions I came to about listening to plants and dropping into my body, he was doing also. And that to me was like, okay, I'm on the right track. Because if I've been learning this from Hawaiian teachers and trying to figure it out on my own, and my friend here has been learning in a Native American tradition, and we come to the exact same conclusions, that's rocking. So, well, I told you it was a bait and switch, right? What I want you to go home with is not, I want you to learn about edible plants, and we'll talk about edible plants. But I want you to go home with a new appreciation for your own body. And for trusting your body, it won't lie. I have a personal theory that there's a concept called shadow. And our shadow is the parts of ourselves we deny, we avoid, and we repress. We all have a part of ourselves that we don't want to look at. I know I do. Okay? So we have a part of ourselves that we don't want to face. And we have an aversion to looking at it because it's uncomfortable. And I believe that our shadow is the earth. That we're so complacent that we don't want to look at what we're doing when we're driving our cars. And we're all culpable. Nobody gets off scot-free, right? We're all guilty of helping to destroy this planet. But the fact that we don't want to look at what we're doing is the same place in us where we don't want to feel what's going on in our bodies. Or I don't want to change my behavior when my partner makes a request to me. The last thing any of us ever really want to do is change our behavior. Okay? So that piece of, but once we do look at ourselves, once we do feel our bodies, once we do see what we're doing to the planet, the benefits are profound. Huge. Huge. When I walk in the woods now compared to 10 years ago, it's a completely different experience. I was talking about my friend Matt. I'm a plant guy, so I'm out looking at plants. He kept saying, oh, look, there's a mouse. Oh, look, there's a mouse. He's a tracker. He's always looking for critters. I don't see mice in the woods. I've never seen a mouse in native forest here. We went on our hike, he saw like 6 of them. Right? Because my antenna don't pick it up. I only see the vertical stripes. He only sees the horizontal stripes. Right? With your partner, or when you're making love, or when you're pissed off at your cat or your dog, watch what's happening in your body. Own it. Take it back. Okay? That's reclaiming our body. That's reclaiming the earth. I don't have time to go over these things right now. Rooting is when locus is where I identify within my body. So if I'm looking at you folks and I'm feeling you in my belly, that's my locus. If I'm feeling you in my head is my locus. If I'm focusing on that leaf over there, that leaf is my locus. I'm out of my body and I'm in that leaf. It's where I put my attention. Presence is just staying present. You know, we think something, come back to the present. Think something, come back to the present. I mean, Eckhart Tolle just made, millions of dollars doing this. So, great, fantastic. Come back to the present. And rooting is the process of dropping in. It's when it's bringing our awareness down into our core. Okay. I'm going to run through these things because this is the metaphor that I use when I'm working with my students. That's the tree. There's the roots are the part of ourselves where we know who we are. These roots are the intuitive part of ourself that we don't access, we don't need, because we go to the market to get food. We don't have to hunt something down. We don't have to be hyper-vigilant in our peripheral vision to check and see if there's a tiger that's going to attack us from the bushes. Right? We don't have to do that. We've already conquered the damn planet. So this part is atrophied, but in conquering the planet, we've cut ourselves off from the earth. These are rooting techniques that are they're traditional techniques for connecting different ways of breathing. This is a Hawaiian paradigm. I won't get into this too much. This is the way the some Hawaiians view their physiology. This is a Chinese technique that I teach my students in order to have them work on their peripheral vision. And there's a Hawaiian technique that's very similar. You hold your hands up like this, and see I'm focused on the hands, and then I shift over, and I'm focused on where my fingers overlap. So I'm actually focusing on the background. By focusing on the background and bringing my awareness closer to myself and then out, I drop into my body. These are techniques, Chinese and Hawaiian techniques for connecting with the planet. This is, again, peripheral vision. So I'm visually focused out there, but I'm aware here. These are moving techniques called hakahele. The Hawaiians call them hakahele. When you're moving in the woods or down a road, you stay in peripheral vision, and that's how you gather your data, while being aware in your abdomen of what's going on. These are all techniques. This is a technique that I use sometimes with my students. We read from left to right. So our eyes, when we're reading, go this way, and then we go back really fast. Zip, zip, right? Makes sense? We're reading, we go like that. Well, we're so habituated or conditioned to moving our eyes slowly to the right and quickly to the left that when I have my students in the woods looking for herbs, I have them go the other way. So they'll move slowly to the left and quickly to the right. And that opens us up to, so we're not so habituated in our ways of seeing things. This is called dermis, using the body as skin. Okay, so wild edibles.